I have two sons. My oldest is 8, his name is Logan, and my youngest is 3, his name is Magnus. And I believe that as their parent, my job is to prepare them for the day that I'm no longer here to guide them. And I take this very seriously. So one day, when Logan was 4, he asked me a question. And if you've ever had a conversation with a 4-year-old, you know that they can get a little intense. And he said, "Daddy?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "What's leadership?" And after I thought to myself, dude, what are they teaching you in preschool? I said, leadership is when a person can inspire a group of people to work towards a common goal. And I thought that was the end of the discussion. But we're dealing with a 4-year-old here. So we know there was a follow-up question. And then Logan said, "Daddy?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "How can I be good at leadership?" And it was at this moment that I recognized that I was failing as a parent. Because I couldn't explain to my 4-year-old how to be good at leadership. So I searched. I started to wonder if there was a way to simplify leadership. I mean, I believe so, but no different than math, before I could simplify it, I had to find the lowest common denominator. So I asked myself this question: what is unique in nature, yet universally connected through experience, that always requires leadership? And after years of searching and researching, I am proudly embarrassed to say that the answer was in front of me the whole time. We are. The answer is us, people. We are unique, we are connected via the human experience, and we all have a minimum requirement to lead ourselves. Which means that every person walking the face of this earth is a leader. Game changer for me. I realized that the term leadership, as I knew it, had much broader implications than just business. It was personal too. And this was exciting for me, because now I wanted to see if I could identify any patterns among values that, when practiced, yielded favorable outcomes, and when ignored, yielded unfavorable outcomes. Once I narrowed it down to an inclusive list, I pressure tested it for flaws, holes, gaps, across countless people in both the business and personal settings. The result was the formation of an alliance between 3 values that, when practiced consistently, drive the sustainable, effective leadership of self and others. The acronym of these values spells C.A.R, which is fitting given that we're all on a leadership journey. The first value, and the C in the acronym, stands for courage. Just as a car can't move without an engine, we as people can't move through our journey without courage. Courage is the engine that drives all actions. As a leader, courage is the ability to make the necessary changes within ourselves to inspire the most favorable change in our environment. One of the best examples of courage in leadership is none other than Mohandas Gandhi. His influence on India is immeasurable. He was able to move a nation through his actions. It's said that Gandhi undertook up to 17 fasts during the freedom movement of India, the longest of which was 21 days. When civil war broke out, his strategy for ending the war was to prohibit himself from eating until the fighting stopped, even if his life was lost in the process. We can learn the most important leadership lesson from Gandhi's methods. The best way to inspire change in our environment is to demonstrate change within ourselves first. Courage is the key to demonstrating this change. Now you may be thinking, how does this pertain to me in my everyday life? I'm not Gandhi. Me neither. To that I say, as long as you're living, you're leading. And if you're leading, it's going to be necessary to demonstrate courage. Let me show you what this looks like. In the workplace, courage is asking yourself how you contributed to the underperformance of an employee, instead of just looking for ways to fire them. In your relationships, courage is listening to feedback about you with an open mind and intently looking for the truth in it, instead of looking for ways to refute it. Financially, courage is staying in the place that you don't want to be in, so that you can save even more for the place that you do want to be in. The practice of courage is emotionally draining, I know, but it's also perpetually rewarding. The second value in the A in the acronym stands for agility. Just as a car can't handle the road if it's not able to steer, we as people can't handle our journey without agility. Agility is the steering that allows us to maneuver effectively. When we as leaders can be agile enough to respond to unexpected changes objectively while maintaining focus on the greater goal, we exponentially increase the likelihood of achieving that goal. It doesn't matter what it is. Take Chelsea Sullenberger III, for example. He was the captain of U.S. Airways Flight 1549, an event now known as the Miracle on the Hudson. On January 15, 2009, 100 seconds after takeoff, a flock of Canadian geese hit the core of the aircraft, causing double engine failure. It was at that moment that Captain Sully knew that this flight would not end on a runway undamaged. And he was okay with that, as long as he could solve this problem. How was he going to get 155 people to safety? No one had ever trained for a water landing. In fact, it wasn't even possible to at that time. So for close to 20 minutes, Captain Sully had to rely on years of experience and gut instinct to maneuver through the situation. He recalls the shift in his mindset from focusing on everything on his checklist to only the most important things. How he was calculating figures in his head real time. And how despite the severity of the situation, he still maintained the soundness of mind to empathize with his passengers and deliberately choose every word he spoke over the loudspeaker. If not for his leadership, the Miracle on the Hudson could have very well ended in tragedy. But thankfully, all 155 passengers were brought to safety. Now, there are so many things we can learn from how Captain Sully managed himself during this crisis, but none more important than how the practice of agility is an indispensable part of effective leadership. And in Sully's case, it was a lifesaver. The third value in the R in the acronym stands for resilience. Just as a car can't reach its destination if it's not built to last the conditions of the journey, we as people can't reach our destination without resilience. Resilience is the toughness to weather difficult environments while actively working towards the desired result, long enough to achieve it. Evidence of just how impactful the demonstration of resilience can be has been personified by Nelson Mandela. As we know, he spent 27 years of his life in prison for his beliefs, the first 18 of which were spent at Robben Island, a prison notoriously known for their horrid conditions. He was allowed one letter and one visitor every 6 months. His cell was 8 feet by 7 feet, and he had a straw mat to sleep on. And for a toilet, he had a metal bucket with a lid that he had to take out himself every morning. By day, he did hard labor by crushing stones to make gravel. And by night, he spent much of his time in solitary confinement. Despite these conditions, he still declined being set free on 2 separate occasions because his freedom at that time would have sacrificed the greater dream of equality. See, Mandela's greatest journey was the journey inward, and that may be true for all of us. It's the patience, the strength, the resolve that we gain as a reward for enduring through our hardships. This is the reason why he lived to see the end of apartheid, become the president of South Africa, and the recipient of a Nobel Peace Prize. It's no wonder he said, "Don't judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." This is the essence of what it means to demonstrate resilience. Now, I could go on for hours, giving example after example. But the point is that the common thread of humanity is that life is a shared journey that each person uniquely experiences. And the beauty of it is that everything we need to reach our destination has already been provided through the experiences of one another. Though I didn't realize it, my journey started when I was 11. I remember it was so cold. It was dark, and it was the middle of a blizzard. The last thing I remember seeing was my mom's hands around my neck and me struggling to take my last breath. And I must have passed out because when I came to, I was on the steps outside in a snowsuit. In my right pocket was a crumbled up note with 5 words on it that I'll never forget. I don't want to know. So I left. I didn't have any place to go. But I remembered that there was a gazebo at Eastside Park where my friends and I would ride our bikes. So I decided to go there. When I arrived, there was a homeless gentleman by the name of Jose already there. And though I was scared out of my mind, so scared, I asked him if I could share the space with him for the night. He seemed to be shocked that I would ask a question like that. He said, "Your parents are raising you well. Why aren't you home?" I had no answers for him. And the most embarrassing part is that I still don't. He offered me a piece of his peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which is why to this day I love orange marmalade. And then he said, "I don't know what happened to you, but I know 2 things about your situation for certain. Number 1, this is going to be the hardest night of your life. And number 2, if you make it to through the night, and you're able to see the morning sun, you'll be able to overcome any challenge that life has to offer." I was so overwhelmed. I curled up in a ball, and I cried myself to sleep that night. When I woke up, Jose was gone, and there was a trail of tears that were frozen down my cheeks. And then I looked to the left, and I saw the most miraculous thing ever. It was warm, it was bright, it was the morning sun. I had made it through the night. This was the first time I could remember practicing these values and leading myself effectively. The irony is that it didn't feel that way at the time. See, whether you're a person leading a nation, a CEO leading a company, a mom or dad leading a family, a pilot leading a flight, or a child just trying to get through the night, in the end, it doesn't matter. We are all leaders. So now, when my boys come to me and say, "Daddy, how can I be good at leadership?" I'll tell them this. Leadership is a journey where the destination is best defined by the traveler. And regardless of where you're headed on your journey, if you practice the values of courage, agility, and resilience, if you get in that car, not only will you reach your destination, but you will inspire the passion in others to do the same.